Yeah, baby. We're back. We're glitchy. We occasionally freeze up. We will crash entirely, but you will not make us go away. The Infinite Playlist is back. And God help you. Uh, the only guy who has stuck around through thick and thin and still has his sanity is Wilhelm from Wilhelm Toy and Hobby. Hey, buddy.
Jim, how are you?
Oof. What a long, strange trip. Glitchy and slightly off and delayed because I jinxed it. As soon as we started putting things together, it starts crashing again. But it was smooth as butter right up until we started. So
Yeah.
we just go with it. Screw it.
All right.
We'll do it live, or pre-recorded as the
Sure.
rooster. But we had to take a hiatus from the playlist just because of life getting in the way of other plans and electrical and internet issues on my end. So I'm glad we brought it back, and we're bringing it back with a bang. We've got a very cool and groovy guest that all you cool kids know is quite the authority on all things punk. So let me run his little promo, and we'll bring him on.
All right.
Hey,
How you guys doing?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for having me on. I was very interested when Largo asked if I'd be interested in doing this and what it's actually all about. So,
Well, that's cool. Well, I took one look at your playlist and I was like, I'm in. This is good.
so I'm gonna say something to you, Wilhelm. I don't know if this is what your name is about, but every time I see your name, I always ask. I wonder if he likes Wilhelm Scream.
I do.
All right. Every time I see it, I'm like, I wonder if he's a fan of a Wilhelm Scream.
Of
And
course.
I know it's not just a band, that it is something that is known in the movie.
Oh, I didn't know there was a band called Wilhelm's.
Yes, there's a
Oh, I
band, a
did not know
Wilhelm
that.
Scream, and if you like some of the stuff here, you'll definitely like it.
Oh, I got to check it out. Oh,
There-
I thought you just meant the Wilhelm Scream in general.
No,
And yeah. Oh, yeah.
a Wilhelm Scream. I probably should have wore the shirt. Really good live, and a lot of good music.
Well,
If you like,
it's new to me, but I'm willing to check it out. Yeah.
yeah. Well, now you got my answer on that. So, is
I think
Largo
Jim's,
frozen up?
Oh yeah, I
Yes,
guess he's frozen up. I was waiting for him.
I thought he was.
apologies. Again,
There he
I'm
is.
glitchy. There might be a slight delay. So if I come in and out, we'll just roll with it. So I swear everything was working fine until I hit the record button.
Well, I've had that happen too when I had issues with mine, so I understand. I'm not going to get upset. It became a running joke on my live streams
Yeah.
for probably about 2 months of having problems. So
That's like Eduardo, Jim was trying to cut a video and Eduardo kept, crowing at
We enjoyed
Just
doing
the
this,
right-
make it run live.
have you heard the story about Eduardo last night? So I knew what it was when I saw that thing come up, and I went, I know that guy. So let's hope Jim is because Jim has all the controls, right?
He is our nemesis.
Yeah. Yeah, he's rubber banding a little bit. Jim is in a temporal flux here. He's he's coming to us from 30 seconds ago. And yeah, unfortunately that's where he lives. But let's see if we could get I'll give him a second to catch up.
He was all good last night too, no issues. And now it's like everyone must have seen that he's going to try and record in Guatemala and was like, you know what, we need to get on the internet right now.
Yep. I don't know what it is, but it's so frustrating because I've tried every way to jerry rig this thing and make it work, and it's just it is what it is. So yeah, we'll roll with it and see how bad it gets. Let me bring up Lawrence's musical dossier. And
just
let's
one
just see where we go.
second
Bill, you're
there.
probably going to have to run this mostly because I can see I'm having a major delay here.
Yeah. Jim, I did just get a little communique from management. They were telling me that for the convenience of all the viewers here, you can open up another tab and listen to this playlist while we discuss it. And the way I do it, we call this Largio. It's a super state of the art technology. If you just open up another tab and you click on that playlist, you tune the volume down just enough so you can still hear us talking, and you listen to these songs. You may have to skip around a little bit because the timing's not going to line up, but it really does enhance the listening experience. So give it a shot.
Yep. Link in the description below.
Yeah, right. So, Lawrence,
Yep.
what do we have here? Your playlist, man. Oh, looks great. I love everything on it. As soon as I saw it, like I said, I dug right in, listened to it completely. I was listening to it again in my car last night. So, some new stuff for me, some familiar stuff, and I gotta say, there wasn't anything on this that I couldn't get into. So,
Yeah, like I said, I'm a punk. I'm a God. I'm a snob. I'm not gonna lie. There's stuff that I don't like, and I'm very
sure.
upfront about it. But if you like something that I don't care. If I tell you that I think it
Yeah,
sucks, look at me and go, I don't care. It makes me happy, you know.
exactly.
And I love '80s music, and I like '60s, like Motown and stuff like that. But you know, the last two songs are just. The last song is very important. The last artists are kind of important, and that goes back to my mom and everything. So, but all the other ones were really just something that
Awesome.
grabs me.
Well, the first one, Bad Religion. I mean, you're wearing the shirt. Kick-ass band. We've got Bad Religion, American Jesus. American Jesus was the first single from their '93 album, Recipe for Hate, and their second all-time single after signing to Atlantic Records. Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam provides backing vocals on this track. Interesting.
So, man, do you want me to talk about the song now or
Yeah.
what?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So this is my favorite song from them.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this album. This is the only song from the whole album that I like.
Okay.
Every album before that I absolutely loved, but this album I just can't stand. But this song, from the video that they had put out to the end lyrics, especially anytime I hear something where they talk about like a kid with no mom, because I grew up, my mom passed away when I was younger, that
Mhm.
it always just kind of resonated. But this is such a band that was so influential to us growing up as skateboarders, uh, that it just, and this song just stood out. For
Oh,
most
yeah.
people, I know for most people it's 21st Century Digital Boy. That was one of the songs I didn't really care for that much, although it is so pertinent now with
Yeah.
the society we live in. So
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, it was ahead of its time. But yeah, that was probably like 21st Century Digital Boy was probably like the song that got me in. And then, after that, it was kind of rotated out of the playlist with so many other great songs being available. So,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, American Jesus, great song.
Yeah, and it just again, like you hear it. I know it was one of the songs that kind of got popular for them, but they were never a band that looked to get popular,
No,
and change their music. And there's
yeah.
always bands that do that, but all the riffs, it
Yeah, I
flows.
mean, it sounds great, but then if you listen to it, obviously, American Jesus takes the idea that God favors America rather than other countries.
Yeah,
It was said that during the Gulf War, George Bush said, "We'll win because God is on our side." And sometimes you'll hear musicians or even sports personalities say something like that. And it's what an amazing statement. You know
it's
what
so
I mean?
it's so funny that you just said that because I'm a Michigan fan. Michigan just won the Big Ten last
Uh-huh.
night, and I heard one of the players say, God wanted this, and I said, God doesn't give a shit about sports.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in God or not, he doesn't care about sports.
Of
Right?
course. Yeah, yeah. So it's just a wonderful statement. It, like I said, what an amazing statement. I think sums it all up, that you're destined because, God
Yeah. So
is on
God
your
didn't want the
side.
other team to win.
Yeah.
Is God winning or running the sports books up there? I mean, what's going on? Does
He could
Jesus
be.
run them and God's placing bets? you know?
Yeah. So yeah, badass song.
All right, guys, I'm going to try
Well,
going on only. Is there still a delay, or can you hear me, or it's hard for
We
me
can
to
hear
I
you.
tell
can
on
hear
my
you
end?
fine. Sure. Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, let me chime in then, because this is something that I wanted to run past Lawrence. For me, punk, I really started hearing in the 70s, and it was all about telling people like it is, saying the things that everybody thought, but never really put into song lyrics before, or at least not as blatantly. Hard, fast, loud, slap it out there. Very cool stuff. And then over time, it evolved into what people colloquially called skater punk. Can you explain a little bit between the difference between the two?
So I think what a lot of it comes from is, Bad Religion, Circle Jerks. These bands started off roughly the same time. You already had, that whole European punk coming over, but they really didn't speak. I mean, they're about anarchy. And let's be honest, we didn't really need anarchy here. This is my personal opinion.
Yeah,
In
sure.
Bad Religion, one of the things they said is when you're 16, 17 years old and you're starting a band, what's the most offensive thing that you can do? They're like, we have nothing
Yeah.
against God. But when you're 40 years into a band, you also don't go and change
Sure.
your logo. So I think because there is a definitely different sound from the East Coast and the West Coast. So you have all the California bands, starting from Bad Religion, Circle Jerks, those types of bands, and then you go into Pennywise. But one of the things that happened was Bad Religion had such a sound, and obviously the guitarist Gerwitz, he started Epitaph, and I was actually watching a skate video where they were talking about music, and they said now everything has to be you have to get pay the rights for them, like which is crazy. But he said back then there still were royalties,
Hmm.
but someone knew Gerwitz at Epitaph, and they said, "Hey, we want to use this music." And they just couldn't send them music over fast enough. And they're like, use whatever you want because that they understood that if you're putting it out in the video, no one is buying a skateboard video for the music. But if it's in there, it's going to sit there.
True.
And I
Right.
think you had a lot of these guys my age, a little bit older probably, getting into skateboarding, hearing this stuff, and that was the sound that they started to hear. New York and DC and all
Yeah.
that, you're going to
What's
hear
the old saying? It's like
completely different.
it's the background to your life, your
Yeah.
soundtrack, whatever you're listening to, it permeates everything, part of your culture, your zeitgeist. And I think it's fair to say with punk in general as a genre, it's about calling out hypocrisy. It's not
Yes.
that these guys aren't into spirituality or God, They hate the hypocrisy of organized religions that take advantage of the flock. And that goes into politics and everything else that they'll talk about in their lyrics. When you start looking at the liner notes, seeing what they're really talking about, they make a lot of sense.
And for me, with music, and a lot of people don't understand this because I listen to the pop that's on nowadays and the stuff that people like. And I'm one that affectionately calls people sheep because they just follow the herd. Like if the lyrics don't mean something to me, like for the most part, I have a hard time always liking those songs, those bands, those artists, because it almost has to feel like I wrote these lyrics. Like I'm like if I'm reading them, I'm like I could almost have written these lyrics. Not as good, obviously, but wrote the meaning of what they're trying to say.
Yeah, of course. You hear the song, you hear the words, and it speaks to you. It invokes some kind of emotional response because you can relate to it. Obviously, there's fun songs that you don't need to, 100% relate to, but yeah,
Yes.
you want something that speaks to you, and most of these songs do.
Yeah, and like when it comes to punk, like when people don't realize this, you read their lyrics, they're about society, they're about camaraderie, they're about being there for people. It's actually about the the lower class, the middle class. So, and that's where I always was in my life.
It's
Doesn't
funny.
mean
I
I
always,
agree with
yeah,
everything.
I
Yeah.
find a lot of
The
people like
working class.
Yes.
their perception of what it's all about is usually so far off from what it really is all about.
Yeah.
From an outside perspective, your uncle will say like, "Oh, that's all about this and that," and you're like, read the
Yeah.
lyrics, learn a little
And
something.
punk's changed. Like these guys are still doing it. It is their career.
Yeah,
It was one thing when we were younger and we're like, fuck making money and fuck this. And then you realize, like, wait a minute, these guys are still doing it 30, 40 years later. It is their career. No, they're not Madonna. They're not, um, Taylor Swift. They're making a career out of it. You don't have to make millions and millions of dollars for something to be a career.
yeah,
And I think that falls on a lot of deaf ears when it comes to independent artists, and not just in the punk scene, but
sure.
rock and roll, rap, different things like that. Like people don't realize that. Like you don't have to be on. Well, there's no MTV, but you don't have to be on the radio.
Exactly. And then you got these guys, Rancid.
Oh man,
Classic.
I was not a fan. I was not a fan of Rancid when they came out, or the early stuff, because I wanted Operation Ivy. But the more and more I listened, the more and more I got to know them. They became one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, and so Fall Back Down was released on July 22nd, 2003.
God, that seems
right?
late.
Yeah, it seems late. Their sixth album.
And that brings up a good point too, Lawrence, is a lot of these guys would kind of filter between bands. They would form a band, break up, reform. They was all the same guys. They just kind of, mixed it up.
Yes. And funny story, a quick story is I have a bunch of buddies here in Detroit that are in bands. One is the lead singer of the Suicide Machines.
Nice.
But a good friend that I grew up with, and I remember talking to him. He's in a bunch of bands, and he was like, "There's only like 20 punk Detroit musicians, but there's like 60 bands.
Yeah.
All we do is just
They rotate.
cycle them."
Yeah.
And then you see it when you go to the shows.
I wasn't familiar with the song, but I loved it. I got right into it, and I gotta say, it kicks ass. Yeah.
So this song for me, I mean, I always liked it when I had heard it, but this song for me meant so much when my ex left me. I could not hear every single line and not go, "That's exactly it." Like your friends are the ones that are going to be for you. She left. It's like you're left broken, battered, whether or not you're showing it or not. You have so many pieces. I had 2 kids that I'm, have to figure out how am I going to deal with this going back and forth. All I want to do is be part of their life. Nothing else really mattered to me, you know. But this song, like every time, and I listen to it so much. Every
Yeah, and
line.
yeah, we're definitely advocates of, men's mental health and putting out there that you got to find your coping skills. Music is a huge part of that. It's cathartic, and when you're in that dark place, whether you're listening to music that's dark to kind of, get you where you are to where you need to be, or you're listening to something shiny, happy, poppy, it doesn't matter. Find what, speaks to your soul and then move on. As long as it's got a good beat.
Yeah, and as long as it's not a bad message, as long as it's not leaving
Yeah.
dark thoughts in your
Yeah.
mind of awful things to do.
Nope. This song is just, the energy's great. It just makes you want to get back up again, man, and just take another crack at it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like for a song like this, until you're put in that position where you are kind of like you're left, like you don't really get it. It's like before you have kids, you don't really know what it's like to have that
No.
unconditional love for someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. Until the moment you you can't explain it to someone. But the
Yeah.
second,
Although there is a lot of
Change.
truth to be said that the more I spend time with human beings, the more I love my dogs. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to argue that. I will not argue that at all.
Pennywise, Perfect People.
Oh.
This is from 95. Although the album was not a commercial success, it's widely considered to be one of their best releases. There's a lot of great songs on there, but Perfect People is one of the standouts.
So that one you have underlined right there,
Mhm.
I had wrote that one, and then I went back and I wrote that one. And I went back, and it was just like, which one do I want to go with? So I'm glad you have that underlined.
It's like
'cause I
choosing,
love it.
which one of your kids is your favorite. You can't decide that. It's like, and we tell
Yes.
people when you're picking 10 songs, don't try to pick like the pentultimate only 10 songs in the universe. It's like, what is your playlist today? What is your theme, or what you get? Because I know picking just 10 can really be frustrating, but it causes.
That's why I always say
creating a
you can
concise
come
list
back
is helpful.
for
Yeah,
part two. You can always come back for
But
part
yeah,
two.
You want a part
and
two? I will
whether
give you a
it's
part.
sweet, yeah, whether it's a particular vocalist or a band, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're like, you hear one and it triggers 6 others that you love. It's like, oh yeah, that one and that one. It's like, totally get it.
So like with this song here, listen, I graduated high school in 1994. We had 2,700 kids. I was the only skateboarder. It was
Ooh.
after that it started getting popular again. I hung out with jocks, burnouts, punks. It didn't matter. I didn't care. Were a lot of my older friends that were skaters. They didn't hang out with any of those people, and it didn't bother me. But I hated, as I already said, the sheep and the perfect people that followed what everyone did. I didn't care. I was doing me. I'm straight edge, almost 48 years. People are like, you've never drank? Nope. You've never smoked? Nope. You've never done drugs? Nope. Almost 48 years. And there's reasons to it. I can tell anyone if anyone asks. It's just a personal choice that I made. But I see perfect people, and I see these people they're always trying to be the next. They're trying to do whatever they see on TV or what the celebrities are doing. And this song comes out and you're like, God damn, you nailed everything perfect. All right. Like I could not have wrote a more perfect song.
Yeah. That's great. And there was some additional information about the time, the final Pennywise album that featured bass player Jason Thirsk, who unfortunately committed suicide in '96. And after that, the band debated whether to break up or move on, and they did hire a new bassist, Randy Bradbury, who would stay with the band permanently. And you know, this guy from All Music Review, Paul Henderson, awards the album a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and states the band's fourth release is as many years as in as many years finds it functionally as a full strength unit, cranking out searing hardcore laced with positive but leery messages with end ideals. While the music and message remains essentially the same as their previous releases, increasing depth and maturity begin to take hold in both of these areas. So, I mean, this song,
I like that phrasing of positive but leery. It's like, yeah, I can see that totally.
So what I had forgotten till I was looking for the songs and I was listening to them on YouTube, the video came up for one of it might have been Perfect People or what, and I had thought I didn't think Jason actually was on this one. I thought he was only on the first two because he was kicked out of the band. And I remember on MTV, the news burst came through that he had committed suicide, which again, there was no internet back then, but I was so shocked, not of what happened, but that they would talk about Pennywise because I didn't really think they were
like
a
it was on
band
their
that someone
radar.
would know.
Mhm.
And there was a lot to this, and it seems like the band over time has kind of, at least from what I remember reading, kind of changed their stance on it. He was out of the band. Randy was already brought back, and they said they were in discussions of bringing Jason back, but keeping Randy on, so there'd be a 5-person. And this is another band, other than when the lead singer Jim left for one album and for many years, they never changed musicians. They've always been they've always been the
Nice.
same.
Yeah.
Rancid has had the two main guys. The third guy came on and the second album, and the drummer is the only one that's been in and out. And I think he's now been in the band like 17 or 18 years. So it's great to see that bands can stay together.
Yeah. So what do we got? Oh no, here's me right here. This is me when I saw this, suicidal, man. You can't bring me down. It's obviously a song by Suicidal Tendencies, released 1990, Lights Camera Revolution album. It delivered moderate commercial success and aided the band's transition from punk rock to thrash metal. Although the song never reached any of the major music charts, it was a success. But let me just tell you something right now. This is the first band I ever saw live.
I've never
This
seen
is
them yet.
a buddy of mine just saw them like last week. He posted a picture with him, his nephew, and Mike Muir, who came down and was hanging out with people after the show. And looks great. But Suicidal, like I remember the first time my friend basically put headphones on and hit play. We were walking home from school. He's like, "You got to hear this," and just kicks freaking ass, man. And I don't think it was earlier than 90 that I saw them. I'm gonna say it was probably like 88, maybe a couple of years before this. So yeah.
So you got to be a little bit older than me then.
I was born in 75, so probably just
So
a
you're the same
year or
age
two.
as me.
Yeah.
Okay. We had heard them. I think a lot of it is because of Let's Skate. Right? Is that the name of the song?
Possess the Skate.
Possess the Skate. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which honestly, as a skater, I didn't even like.
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure.
this is nothing like skateboarding. And then you find out his brother owns, Madrid
Uh-huh.
skateboards. I mean, he is in depth in the culture. We've seen people over the years, Avril Lavigne, who tries to gravitate to something that she knows absolutely nothing about to get that little cheap pop. And then you find out, no, he is really included in the skateboard culture even back then.
Sure.
But obviously, we all know institutionalized, which has been, thrown out, so many times. Iron Man had it in there. But when this album came out, it just sounded so much better because it was produced better, but not like overproduced. Just it sounded better. If you listen to the first like Circle Jerks and Bad Religion albums, I've said for years, please go back and redo those albums so they're not staticky and stuff. I love those
Yeah.
songs, but I want to hear them done properly.
Yeah.
But this song here, if you're ever mad at someone, if you're
Mhm.
mad at your boss, you need to tell someone to fuck off. This is the song. You just put it on there. You scream the lyrics in your car. You might have to do it 3 or 4 times, but then you can get out of your car and be like, all right, I said what I had to say. Sure, there's no one there to hear you say it,
Yeah.
but you said what you needed to say. And then if you actually have to say it to somebody, you just tell them maybe you needed to hear it.
So many good songs on this album. I mean, wore it out, just played it nonstop. This was going on in my life constantly. You know, I had friends who all like different songs from the album, but you know, like I think you said earlier, you know, You Can't Bring Me Down is just kind of the one thought.
I've put on my Facebook at least once, probably multiple times. You can say there's a better song than You Can't Bring Me Down by Suicidal, but you're wrong. You know?
Listen, you know, and other than, you know, you wouldn't know what crazy was if Charles Manson was eating Fruit Loops on your front porch. This portion of the song is the one that everyone always recites over and over again. You know, it's a memorable line. Any ST fan knows this. Just because you don't understand what's going on, don't mean it don't make no sense. And just because you don't like it, don't mean it ain't no good. And let me tell you something. Before you go take a walk in my world, you better take a look at the real world, because this ain't no Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Can you say feel like shit? Yeah, maybe sometimes I do feel like shit. I ain't happy about it, but I'd rather feel like shit than be full of shit. And if I offended you, oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you needed to be offended. And here's my apology. And one more thing. Fuck you. I mean, that's great. You know, Mike Muir just kills it.
I am going to say this.
And, you know, I think about some of the idiots and drama mamas in our toy community, to use that term. It's like, dude, you guys need to listen to this song so much. You know what I'm saying?
I have to say, Will, if you sang this, it would not have the exact same feeling as when Mike Muir did.
Oh yeah, of course not. Yeah. But it's definitely, you know, he's the king of it. You know what I mean? He's the master of the angst. When he says it, obviously you got the music. It's just great.
Yeah, no, it's. And again, like if you're having a bad day, like it explains everything. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to be angry. Yeah. It's okay to offend people, because being offended is a choice. But sometimes you need to hear it. So,
and sometimes you have to look at, why do you feel offended? You know, maybe that's a red flag for you to say, maybe I need to check myself. Why am I getting offended by this? Why am I getting heated? Yeah.
Are you threatening me? Are you threatening my family? Like, I offend a lot of people, and it's like, just move on with your life. You know,
I thought you only offended people from Ohio, as you know, very.
Oh no, I just extra offend
specific.
Them. Okay. Actually, I take that back. Actually, they offend me, to be honest.
Just people born in Ohio.
That is where I am offended, by people from Ohio, just in general, unless they came up because they didn't want to go to Ohio State and went to Michigan.
Yeah, man, it's just like I said. Then you've got Sick of It All, Us Versus Them.
My favorite band.
Nice.
It's not even close. I've seen them so many times. If you watch any of my videos, any of my reviews, that is Sick of It All at the beginning. And it's G.I. Joe Head Stomp, because when I started doing videos, I was just going to review G.I. Joe stuff. And I thought, hey, G.I. Joe Head Stomp, it makes sense. I can't believe how many people said they love Sick of It All, but don't know the entrance music or the intro music for the first 10 seconds. I'm like, it's one of the most played songs at a show. But
yeah, this is 97. This is Us Versus Them. I mean, they said that, you know, the music and attitude are entirely predictable, but the hey hey heys are rather charming. I love it. I thought it was a great song. wrote that the band manages to overcome the genre's bark and lunge cliches simply because they're so archetypical or whatever. These guys can actually make you feel the fury behind the song called Us Versus Them. I thought it was great. What does this song mean to you? What's
I think first off, you just look at the title and it explains
yeah,
everything, and it is totally about camaraderie in a smaller community and being in the punk scene, skateboarders. Like you realize, like you are the minority, and if you're not sticking up for each other, then who's going to stick up for you? You're going to be on your own, and you really do see that camaraderie um, in so many walks of life. Now, in many ways, here they're talking about the big, big corporations,
yeah,
big business, the way they treat people, the rich people. But at the same time, you also look at, and if you've ever been in the scene, you realize a there is another culture. It is smaller, but let's just say they don't like other people of minority. And if you're not if you're not showing them like get the fuck out of here, like you're not
yeah,
welcome, like they will take over. So for me, like just the name says it all. And a lot of what was written here, this was when Sick of It All left, and it was actually that the album that it was on. That's actually not right. I think they've changed. It used to be called something else, and it was owned by I want to say Atlantic. And so
okay,
everyone wanted to say they were sellouts, and I can't think of what I'm trying to think of. These two albums were on someone else, and their style didn't change. It just was produced a little bit better. And the more you listen to it, the more you go back to this and Built to Last, it was like, wow, this was just angry. Like this was all the music always been angry, which is good, but it always had a positive message.
yeah. It's
Always.
angry. It's
Yeah.
like it pumps you up. It's like a battle anthem, but it's also not like
Yeah.
you're not doing
This
harm. Most of the time, it's
I
in
was
defense of you and yours,
yeah, I was gonna
and
say
not
this song
aggressive in that sense.
us yeah, us versus us versus them really hit me when I went home to Knoxville to visit family after being gone 20 years. And the old neighborhood had gone through gentrification, if you know that term. The places, there was a little barber shop where everybody hung out. There was a little mom and pop shop you go to get some, soda, video games. All that stuff was gone. And now it's all shiny tourism crap. And this was the song I was listening to at the time. It's just like, I hate that everything and all the little mom and pop shops and community corner stores are gone, and everything is this homogenized big box garbage. So I kind of associate the two, this song and that feeling of that going home and going, you can't go home again. It's not there.
Yeah. It, and the other thing about it is like it can mean multiple things. I mean, it meant one thing to them, how they wrote it, but when you listen to it, it's like again, when you're in a small group, a small niche that
Yeah.
you're part of, like you do feel like it's you versus them.
Hmm.
How I mean, people that are part of like the common, you know, following the herd, they feel the same way. They're wrong. But like when you're in this small niche, like again, like you're just like it's us versus them, and you're looking at your friends, the guys that are the closest to you, and how are they going to back you when push comes to shove, and it's not always in a fighting sense.
Yeah, sure. It's like I said, it's when you're in a community that's not the majority, um, you do find that people either look down, whether directly or passively, on you and your ilk, and you're just saying that if you come for us, we're not going to sit here and be victims. We're going to take it right back to you. So,
Yeah, and this band just quickly, like to this
uh-huh.
day, they are just as aggressive as ever live. Like you never believe this guy's in his 50s, and they've had the exact same members since the third album, and the bassist that left that was on the first two is still good friends with them. But the
Nice.
fact that they've had the same four people since I want to say 92 or 93,
Which
and
is
it was the first band I ever saw live.
pretty incredible. Yeah. So Strung Out, never heard of them, but
Oof.
I gotta say, I liked it, man. I really thought it was pretty cool. I listened to the song, very powerful song. Ashes, man. Burn it.
Yeah, so this band was we saw NoFX, and
Okay.
the lead singer Fat Mike owns Fat Records. And this was in the 90s, and he did something that I have never seen anyone do. Was he passed out fat music for fat people, and it was all the bands that were on his label that he just gave out to everyone that came to the show. So there'd be
Awesome.
one or two songs from every band on his label,
Nice.
and he had like Rancid was also on there because they did a single on there. But we learned about Lagwagon, Strung Out, Propaganda, all kinds of bands because of that. And this was one of the songs that was on it. So
Yeah. This one, the lyrics to this song, really
Yeah,
stuck out
Fat
to me.
Wreck Chords is such a cool
Yeah.
label because
Yeah.
of that.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely appreciate their artists and want to promote them.
Yeah. But this song was one that, I was listening to it. I went and looked up the lyrics, and then I included them here because I just thought they were, I'll do you guys a favor and not read them. We don't want a rendition there, but if you want to take a look, like I said, it's pretty awesome. Powerful song, man, and sung very well. Loved it.
and that's just it. Even as a young kid, I remember reading the lyrics, and again, being straight edge, and still not having as nearly as many experiences obviously I do now. It was just like, this means so much. There's abuse in it,
Mm-hmm.
drug addiction,
Yep.
and the fact that a band that, in all honesty, you look back, they're only a few years older than I was, that they could write something so powerful.
Yeah.
For me to understand at that young age, I would have been maybe 20 at the time, understand it. Probably even younger than that, to be honest. It just meant so much to me. And to this day, I can hear this and you just kind of get those chills of someone that's actually down on their luck like this. Like, this is where they've put themselves. And there's been
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of people that have been here.
I've seen
And
it.
some don't make it out.
Mhm.
And there's a few songs that they did. But this band here, I gotta say, they're one of my favorite bands. I saw them open up for Pennywise in Detroit. And they did one of the coolest things that I have ever seen. And so they opened up for Pennywise. They're in my favorite venue, which is St. Andrews Hall, downtown Detroit. Cobo Hall, which is literally a few blocks away. It's that's where the auto show is at and everything.
Okay.
Megadeth was playing. Now, Strung Out they're a punk band, but they have a lot of metal influences, metal riffs. They left after their set and went over there hoping they could get in, and they knew some of the roadies.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it was on Instagram or Facebook, I don't remember, and they're backstage with Megadeth, like watching their show while Pennywise, who they opened up for, is playing here. Which, I mean, to me, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
again, you've already seen them, you've played with them for years.
Yeah.
But to
You're
be like,
touring
listen,
with them. You see the
yeah,
show
you're like,
every night. Yeah.
Megadeth is like 10 minutes walk from here. You're in Detroit, so you're still taking your life in your own hands. She's like, we're going to try and get in there. And then you see these pictures. And then, I believe they talked to Dave after that, because I do believe they kind of knew him, but they said they knew the roadies. So they were backstage. I'm like, that is awesome. Like,
That awesome.
That's an experience. That's just cool. Like, you're taking advantage of something that it's like right there. When are you going to see Megadeth, in Detroit, unless if you're playing with them, if you're from California and you're a musician, so I thought
Seizing
that
the
was
opportunity.
awesome.
Yeah. call to adventure, man. That's exactly what I would want to do.
And I believe it's either the singer or the guitarist now has been uh, clean and sober. I think for just 10 years. I think he just
Wow.
something like that. Which
Yeah.
again, you look at the band as a straight edge guy here.
Mhm.
People are like, "How can you like a band strung out?" And I'm
Sure.
walking around with a strung out shirt. I'm like, because it's the band. And to be honest, I
Yeah.
didn't even understand what really strung out meant when I was
Sure.
younger. Till people started pointing it out, and then you do some research, and you're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's what strung out means."
Yeah. Larga, did you like this one?
I did, especially because I have known people struggling with substance abuse, and it just the lyrics are honest and they really talk to where people are in that moment in their life. And you can tell the difference between somebody trying to write a song about something they haven't experienced and a band that says, I've been there, done that, have the t shirt, wrote the lyrics. It's like, okay, you guys live this. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like the fact that it's able to be, the fact that like I can listen to it and understand what they're saying. Like it's written so well. It kind of I don't know if you ever read the book Go Ask Alice.
I have not.
It's a diary of a junkie who ends up
Mhm.
on the street or whatever. And I don't read. It's one that I've read numerous times when I was younger.
Powerful.
Yes, and from what I understand, it's a real diary. They changed the names and everything, but
Mhm.
it means a lot. Like it's able to be portrayed the way you want it to. And to me, like this just
Yeah.
it really
Like I
just hit
said,
me.
this is one of those songs where I was listening to it and I was like, hold on. And I had to go look it all up and I've listened to it several times and I was listening to it last night. So thank you for this song. Because
And
I
this
really
here, I want to say this. When people tell me all punk is people screaming and not knowing
yeah.
how to play instruments, I'm like, you need to read the lyrics. You know what? Go listen to Wet Ass Pussy or whatever that WAP song is. Wait, is it wet? I'm sorry.
Yeah. We got
WAP
to.
is something different. I'm sorry. Whatever it is.
I think that's it.
I'm like, that means nothing. Like, some of this music is crap, but you go to listen to this and it's like, this is powerful. If someone wrote this in a
Mhm.
fucking poem, you'd be like, oh my God, dude. Like, this is just heartbreaking. It is so,
It is, man.
but it's so true.
Then you want to get back into some,
I think the best music in any genre is when it captures a snapshot of real life.
Yes. All right.
Operation Ivy, man. Freeze up. This
This was dedicated to Largo before they knew what internet was. Freeze up. I can't plan that any better. Operation Ivy is seriously, I think one of the most influential punk bands for doing one album.
Yep. And
Every punk knows it. Every
this is
alternative
a great pick me up after the last song there too, lots of text here, but we'll just leave it to let's just talk about what it means to you.
Okay. So you see ska punk right there, right?
Sure.
So this band was so heavily promoted in the H Street videos, H Street Life, Planet Earth. They're all owned by the same company. So the reason why I put these two together was the Donger and John Reeves skate together,
Mhm.
and they skate through both these songs. Now, if you don't know any better, you think it's all one song because it just seamlessly flows into the next one. And there is a third song that's after, and it's just three in a row. But I hear the song, I can picture myself watching these two amazing guys skate, like just do shit that back then like didn't make any sense. You
Yeah,
know,
of course.
ollieing over like a fence. Like how do you ollie over a fence off flat ground? Stuff like this. But then you start to like you hear this album and you can just put this album on and like where you were, what song was in a video, what part it was, who skated to it. And then when you start to hear the actual story about how they had no idea. Rancid has, a couple verses about it in some of their albums, that these were just like kids that had no idea what they were doing. They got a van, they traveled, across the country, not realizing the mark that they were putting on the world. And I love and hate this, that they refuse to ever do a reunion. Although they did recently sing a song together in the past few months.
Oh,
which
really? I didn't
It
know
was
that.
for a benefit show. I forget what it is, but yeah, Jesse and
Cool.
the singer of Rancid, I can't think of his name, Lars. They sing together. Now, Rancid has done a bunch of Operation Ivy songs, but Lars never. I'm sorry, no. Lars does sing it. He's the guitarist. Who's the singer of Rancid?
You got me. You
Gonna
got
drive me
me.
nuts now. But the singer who was actually one of the part singers, he never sings the lines, and I'll be like, "That's your line. Why can't you at least sing it for me?" But that's what Operation Ivy. It taking back to that skateboard world. We were
Matt
hearing
Freeman
all
or Lars Fredrickson? They got two people.
this. Okay, no. Lars is the guy that came in after. Matt Freeman Matt Freeman was in Operation Ivy. Wait,
Oh, yeah.
no, Lars
that's-
Fredrickson. Okay.
Yeah, I just Googled it and I see a couple names there.
Wait, who are the
And,
band? Who are the band members?
Let's see.
Rancid?
We've got, I got an ad popping up here because we got Tim Armstrong, Matt
Armstrong.
Freeman. Okay.
Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman. They were the guys in Operation Ivy with Jesse, and then there was the drummer. I'm sorry. And they've done numerous stuff together. Those two, and they're still together in Rancid. Lars came in after, and they'll do like Rancid would do like.
And that's kind of the thing with Operation Ivy Operation Ivy was like a convergence of talent that just happened at the right time in these guys' lives. And they went on to do other stuff that was awesome. It's disappeared from the scene. It's just this particular, band, this sound was only this one album.
Yeah, it's like they did this one album. They did, I think, an EP that I really don't care for, but it's whatever. But yeah, you have like 20 some songs, I think, and you put that album on Energy, and you're just like, exactly what's being played. It's influenced so many. Again, it's influenced every punk rocker.
Tons of bands have covered their stuff.
Yeah. So they but it takes me back to that skateboard, especially these songs.
It wasn't me, but I did have a buddy who just would get those tapes and just play them all the time, where it was the skate compilations with the music, and he always had them on. And he had a whole stack of them, on top of his TV.
Tapes.
Oh yeah. Street Dogs, man. I never heard of them.
So I think the song right there explains everything. Dropkick Murphy.
Yep.
As soon
as the song started playing, I said,
Murphys
"What's
are
going
one
on
of my
here?"
favorite.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was the lead singer of the first album, maybe the first two albums, but I know the first album. And then he left to be a firefighter, I believe. He was also in the military, so they have a lot of military songs that mean a lot to me, even though I wasn't in the military. I think just hearing the fact that I can be put into a place that I can understand what he's saying about serving. But this song here is just, again, the lyric. I mean, the name of it just says it all.
The video, I saw the fireman's uniform. He had his dress shirts on while he's on stage, and he's singing this song. And good song, man. Definitely makes you want to get in there and show some love to someone. Get in there and just It's awesome. Yeah, I
And
liked it.
yeah, and the lyrics to this is what everyone says punk rock is. It's just screaming and it has nothing. And that's for this, he's just saying this exactly. Sometimes you just need a song to scream, get in that pit, get your aggression out so
Yep.
you don't take it out on someone else. And you just need to hear it. And I hear this song and I'm like, this is just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another band that I came across later on in life. So yeah, to me,
And that's the thing. That is definitely one of the appealing things about punk is just that thing of happy, happy, angry. If that makes sense,
yes.
you know, you just need to get in that vibe, let it wash over you, and enjoy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you can be angry but not be mad.
Yeah, I know exactly
Uh,
what you mean. Yeah, because
yeah, you can be
you're not.
mad at
Yes.
things going around, but you're not angry.
Yeah.
You know, like where you're going to yell and scream at everyone, but you're mad about what you see going on in society.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, can we really change it? I don't know. One person can't change everything, but if one person starts to change the way they act, and then their buddy changes, and then you know, it's like that's where change starts to happen.
Yeah. Or you get fortunate enough to find enough people, that you could connect with and unite with, that once you're a group, you don't give a shit what the rest of these people are doing,
Yeah.
because you got your peoples,
Yeah, and again, you know, you go back to, you know, a lot of these punk bands started a movement, not realizing they started a movement.
Mhm.
And again, we're using punk as the example. There's other bands and other genres and other lifestyles that
Yeah.
have done the exact same thing.
But
So
my favorite part of this song was, you got to stay up all night sometimes, and you got to live before you die, man. That's
you
part of
know
it.
that I have
Awesome.
so many people. When my ex left, like when we split up, I started skateboarding again. And I never quit skateboarding, but I stopped just because life
Yeah.
got in the way. And then I started again. And I have so many people that say, isn't that dangerous? Aren't you worried? And it's like, you know what? I would rather be, I can accept being in a wheelchair at 65 because I did something I loved and I enjoyed it, rather than being 70, being able to walk around and go, well, because I didn't do this, I can walk around. I don't know if I'm going to be around when I'm 70. You know, I
Exactly.
would rather live my life doing something I loved. Then again, I'm not skating huge rails and giant
Yeah.
ramps. You know, and to me, again, I've said this numerous times. I don't understand how someone can't jump on a skateboard and just ride down the road. It's second nature to me. But you see
Yeah.
hockey players, people that ice skate, they're like, how could you not ice skate? I don't
Oh,
know, because I
believe
don't have
me.
balance. But yeah, it's you got to live before you die, man. Like once you're dead, it's gone.
That's it. I love it.
So enjoy it.
Whoa, whoa, here she comes. All right, this is a song everyone knows this song because obviously it was a huge hit. You couldn't get away from this in the 80s, but you know, MTV, this was on all the time. Watch out, boy, she'll chew your heart. My brother always thought something like they were saying like curse words in this song, and it snuck through, but he was always mishearing it. So I just remember this song. But what does it mean to you, though? It's definitely got some special meaning here because it's not like the rest of the songs we've seen.
No. So this was okay. So I picked this out, but it really isn't this song. It's the artist, and
Okay.
just so you know, it is Daryl Hall and John Oates. Their actual name is not Hall and Oates. And the only reason I know this is I watched an interview and like we were never Hall and Oates. Our name is actually Daryl Hall and John Oates. And it's sad what's going on with right now that they have like
I did hear
lawsuits
something.
against each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
But my mom loved Hall and Oates, and my mom passed away when I was 13. So there's a
Awesome.
lot of things. Again, if you ever watched me, you know the story about the aircraft carrier and the eight shipwrecks. But there's certain things that my mom and I were pretty close, as most kids should be with to their parents. But
Mm-hmm.
my mom was the one that was around because my dad worked, and she listened to a lot of Hall and Oates. And really, this was finding probably the one that I remembered the most. But it just takes you back to that place of her watching VH1. Yes, VH1.
Yep.
And her having the cassette tapes. and knowing all of these songs, and I always wondered, like, why is it called Hall and Oates? Oates never sings. He doesn't do anything. And then you kind of realize, like, well, that's not how bands really are. Like, there are other people that do things. Um, but yeah, it just I hear it. I hear this song amongst a lot of other ones. But the other thing, as I was going through them, this video was the one that was like, boom. There were a few other ones that kind of stuck out too, but it was this video and the song that I went, yep, that is to me the one that stands out the most. It might not even be my favorite song, but it's the one that just,
Yeah.
I think when I think of
I
Hall
mean-
and Oates,
Yeah, listening to it back, preparing the playlist, man, they really are talented. They really are. They're just awesome.
so
And,
so talented.
Mhm. Just
I know people
amazing.
don't understand that because they're like, and then, again,
When
people either hate Hall and Oates or they love them.
yeah, what was it? There was a show where it was like Daryl would have people in his garage and they would just jam. You really get a sense of how much they love making music.
Yeah, a bunch of those clips have come up. I'm not sure what it's called, but a bunch of those clips have recently come up because I was like, what is this like cease and desist order that they have going on? Like, good Lord, like,
Yeah.
haven't you guys made enough money and like you're gonna complain that one like basically John Oates can't sing certain songs on his shows? Like,
Oh.
give me a break,
Oh my
man.
god.
And it's not the
I
first time this has happened between them. That's the sad part.
I think it was like 1985 or 86. Me and a friend went to this like girls' families like big like Christmas party. It was a big family Christmas party in this like ritzy neighborhood, and he liked her or something. But anyway, it was like a Secret Santa thing, and I remember I opened my package. And maybe it was later. It was probably 88, maybe, because I got an NES controller, an extra NES controller. It was the one without the
Turbo. The one with the
crosspad.
turbo.
It was the little turbo slide thing. And
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
I was like, holy shit. I was like, thank you so much. Because, we all had to bring and then my friend opened up his, and it was a fucking Hall & Oates cassette. And he was so pissed. He was so pissed off at me. And I just remember like walking home from the thing, like we got dropped off at like a mutual friend's house and walking home. And he's like, give me that one. And I'm like, no, I'm not giving it to you. And he's like, he was so pissed off. He's like, fucking Hall & Oates. And nowadays, I'd say actually it was pretty good. That controller did kick ass though. I'll tell you that. But I wouldn't have been, we were young, so we were like, yeah, Hall & Oates, boo.
Interesting note. I'll try to add this to the description. We put this up. There is a version of Maneater that I believe was recently recorded. That's Rastafarian, and it is bizarre.
No, I never heard that.
I'll have to say, it's one of those things I found when I was doing some research on this, and it's trippy to listen to, but it's like,
All right, so John
doing
Oates,
some interesting far out there stuff.
yes, John Oates does a lot of these songs in reggae form.
Oh,
I think I know what you're talking about because it kind of popped up when I was like,
yeah.
and it didn't sound right. But again, if John Oates is doing it, I think he does a bunch of these songs because I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's completely different.
I'm gonna have to check it out because I like the weird stuff, so I definitely want to hear it.
And Daryl Hall has a very distinct voice.
Yeah, and here we go. You can check him out here. So yeah, they did explain that while it's natural to assume the lyrics are about a woman, the song was actually originally written about New York City in the 80s. It's about greed and what is avarice? I don't even know what that word means. And spoiled riches. But we have it in the setting of a girl because it's more relatable. So yeah, a lot of people
That's a
do
good
that.
way to cover it up from your wife.
Yeah. The C is they always refer to challenges. The sea is a harsh mistress, and that city, she'll chew you up. So-
They were writing it and they're like, all right, well, we know what this is about, but if we say it's about New York and
yeah,
we can get away
yeah,
with it.
yeah. No one girl is gonna. Yeah, no woman is gonna be mad at us for that. So
Yeah.
then,
Every 40 and 50-year-old know that one.
Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up. That was unfortunately. So I saw this on the list, but there are no known images or recordings of the song anywhere on the internet. It was just so weird to me. It's only remembered, I guess, in fringe conspiracy groups that meet in person. Because I saw like a thing hanging on the wall at my local church, and I said I could meet up and talk about it. But yeah, it said that if mortal ears were ever to hear these original recordings, they would be forever altered in ways that science has yet to fully understand. So I appreciate you putting it on the list, but unfortunately, it doesn't really exist. No one's heard of the song.
Well, that's good because I had Freeze Up and I had the 2 Operation Ivy songs. So that does make 10 right there.
Okay. Well, actually, no, it does exist, and everyone knows the song, of course. So, yeah, Never Gonna Give You Up was around and it was popular. And I do remember a time before people and Rick rolled people. So, I mean, the song it had heavy play on MTV and VH1, and it was around.
Yeah. So this song, so if you're in my car and this song comes on, it does not get changed. I will smack your hand if you try and change it. So he came out shortly before my mom passed away, and my mom loved him. She was in the casket. My dad actually put like his 2 albums in there. So, and I only know the 2 songs that he ever had. He obviously had other ones. And a matter of fact, my ex had recently, a couple of years ago, sent me over a link that he was going to be in town, actually at St. Andrews, like my favorite. And then I
wow.
looked and saw like $100 for a show. I'm like,
oh,
I don't like him that much.
oh
But,
no,
yeah, but I hear this and it's like it takes me back to being with my mom. And to me, those memories. And again, I have good memories. There's not a lot of them because I was 13, but just her just liking the song, it being on again VH1. It was on the radio all the time. Her listening to the cassette. My dad never understood any type of new music. A matter of fact,
Okay.
Larkin said it was actually funny. Last night, the show Larkin and I were on, he brought up, oh God, what was it? Wang Chung Tonight.
Yes.
And what was funny, and I tried saying something, but other people were talking. That was the one song that my dad said that he actually liked, and we just happened to be with my daughter that day. And I go, Grandpa actually used to like the song. He probably doesn't remember because he hated all 80s stuff. He only liked 60s and 70s. So he never cared about any of this type of stuff. But I just,
but Dad was like, I could Wang Chung.
Yeah. But like this here, I hear Rick Astley. Like I said, he had 2 singles that I remember.
Yeah.
It's just it's my mom.
I gotta say,
there.
this was probably one of the ones I remember too, where like the artist does not look like the voice, because you hear the song and then you see this guy, and you're like, wait, whoa, that's coming out of his face.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that because I remember seeing the video, so I never thought that. And then as life went on, as the years went on and I got older and people would talk about it, I would watch and I'm like, oh, I fully get what they're saying.
I think this guy, and then who's that other redhead? He got me too. Ed Sheeran. I'm like, he sings that? Like, what the hell? Okay. I think he was another one. And there's been a few, but I think that might be a fun show to do. People that do not look like they sound,
That
Largo,
would be very interesting.
how often have you been rickrolled? And when was the last time it happened to you?
I'm still in therapy from my last rickroll.
Is it sad that when I get rickrolled on something, I'm disappointed that I don't hear the whole song?
Yeah, it cuts off. You're like, oh, I was listening to that.
Like, son of a bitch, play the whole damn thing. Yeah, there's nothing to the lyrics that like mean anything to me. It's just the song and the time.
The time, yeah. It
Yeah,
brings you
but
right back. I really do believe that. Like music is like a time capsule.
yeah,
Brings you back to that era. And it's so
It's a
powerful
good
that you
song.
could not
People
hear
enjoy
a song.
it. Long before it became a meme,
Oh yeah.
it was just some fun. Yeah.
Hmm.
everyone talks about how they hate the song or whatever, but you look and you're like, you know what? That's not true because this was a pretty damn popular song.
Oh, it was
It's
huge.
like people that say they didn't like Ice Ice Baby. You know what? There are a lot of people seem to like it, so don't tell me no one ever liked it.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy to say now, like, oh, I wasn't into that. I was, but yeah, people secretly liked it. And yeah, that's pretty good, man. So that's a killer playlist, dude. I really enjoyed talking to you about it. Largo, do you have any comments, questions, things, stuff? No? Okay.
Apologies for the signal. I swear to Godzilla, everything was groovy until I hit the record button. There's something in StreamYard is just wackadoodle. But yeah, I enjoy hanging with Lawrence. This is a fun playlist. I like where we went with this. It brought some really good memories of some great tunage, and very cool.
Yeah, and you could always save that playlist and listen to it again. I have. I'm on my second or third viewing of it. Lawrence, what else do you have going on?
Well, first I want to say thank you very much, and I love the fact that both of you guys know some of these songs. The fact that Largo talked about when I went back, us versus them. Like,
Yeah.
it's not too often that someone actually knows who Sick of It All is. I've had so many people see the song or see the shirt and be like, yeah, I'm sick of it all too. I'm like, okay. Just shake my head. And the fact that, Will, you knew so many of the songs too, that makes it a little bit, it makes it better because it's like, oh, you know what? You guys have had some of the same experiences and understand. And then someone where you're like, hey, you know what? I read the lyrics and I've heard the song before, but
Yeah.
But yeah, what do I have going on? Let's see. Monday Night Toy Ramblings.
Plus, like
Every
we talked
night.
about off screen, is that when you talk to people, or, toy collectors or certain things, there's a lot of guys in our with us who really like punk and they like alternative. They like things that's like, yeah, man, we like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I've noticed through the comments on my live streams and even on my videos, people will catch a shirt that I have on and they start talking about it. Or just in the live streams, again, I ramble on about things. People will start coming in and all of a sudden they'll start, you know, they want to specifically ask me a question and they'll be talking about like seeing a band, in Canada. Oh yeah, I've seen them in Canada. I've seen this, and you start to get this feeling, and you start to realize how many people are punk rockers that are in the toy community, which I didn't really expect. But like Lars from Rancid, he's a big toy collector. Shardamus had actually talked about.
Really?
He just recently talked to him, and he's hoping to get him on a show.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and he talked. Shardamus talked about meeting Tim Armstrong from Rancid, and he's like taking a picture, and he goes, some guy sees me, and he's like, "Oh my God, Shardamus Prime!" And he was like, Tim's like, "Dude, who are you?" And he's like, "I'm a toy tuber." Like, oh man, that's awesome. Like he goes, "I'm like with Tim Armstrong, and this guy here is here to see Rancid or the festival, and he sees me, and he's excited to see me, not but yeah,
ass.
it is crazy. Like there's just a lot of people, and it shouldn't be because it's such a niche thing to be. Again, I don't think now my 17-year-old son or my 14-year-old daughter, if they were collecting toys, they're not ostracized the way we would have been
No,
when we
no.
were in high school.
Yeah, things are a little more understood now or accepted. And
Yeah, because you have all these football players and actors and athletes that are, they're collecting, they're wearing Batman t-shirts, they're wearing all this stuff that it's not hated. You're not
Yep.
looked at being immature. And now you can use collectible rather than toy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm surprised at
You're
how many
saying
people
toy
show up.
ramblings every Monday?
Yeah.
What time?
And this is what happens. Yeah, so
I
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday Night Toy Ramblings. I go through the news of the week, and then I usually get into a topic, and then I just ramble on, and I go 3 to 3.5 hours. It's just me.
Wow. Okay.
It's just me in the chat, and without the chat, it's nothing, because
Yeah.
they are such a good community that they are able to talk. Hell, I left to go pick up my son from work last year for like a half hour to 35 minutes it took me, and they were still in there, and the jokes were running, and it's great. I can
That's
take
awesome.
a joke, I can dish it out. So
You just hung a sign in front of it, be back in 15
I just
minutes.
let them know. I'm like, hey, listen, I might have to go pick up my son. And sure enough, 10 o'clock rolled around. Boom, I hit the stop,
What?
ran out, grabbed them, came back. And
Yeah.
I think like 10 people had dropped off. But there was still a good amount of people in there. And then we jumped right back in, and people kind of
That kicks
slowly came
ass.
back.
And
But I could look at the comments, and I'm like, the comments
Yeah.
are going.
We
And that's
got
what
to
makes-
give a shout out to Matthew too, because Matthew definitely keeps things flowing.
Yeah. So I've got two moderators, Matthew Matson, and now Action Figs Ed.
oh, awesome.
And yeah, they really know how to, especially Matthew. Like, he was the first one. He really helped me out.
We love it.
He gave me ideas, and I listened to it. I wanted to find a way to make the channel better, how to make my live streams better. And he's always thrown out stuff. And sometimes I agree with it, sometimes I don't. But either way, he can be honest with me. So that's Monday night. And then every Thursday, I do a show. So every other Thursday, we do Punks on Film. That's me and Matthew and myself, and we talk about a movie. Last week, we ranked the best Christmas movies. Largo was there, who had
right.
some really good. You're a good addition to the stream. I got to say that. Like, you really are. So we do that. We have fun. That one runs now like 2 to 3 hours, over 2 hours always. And then the opposite Thursday, I do Thursday with a friend, and that one starts at 9 p.m. And
It's fun with people that you enjoy the energy.
Yeah. And so Thursday with a friend was all brought upon because a lot of it had to do with it's Chad, articulated Chad at the time, and I loved how he interviews people. And I've told him this numerous times. Like, one of the things that he does is, I may know he knows the answer of what he's asking someone, but he knows everyone doesn't know. So it's his job to lead them into the question, to tell everyone without being like, oh, I already know this, but could you tell everyone?
yeah.
But the one thing that I wanted to do that I think most toy tubers weren't doing, was talk about the person rather than just their toys and their collecting. And I wanted to specifically focus on people that are in my community, that are
That's
in
great.
my chat, that are on my Instagram, who have just helped me create the community that I've created. Because I've been in so many chats, and I'm like, what is this guy's story here? Like, I've been chatting with him. I want to know what his story is.
Mhm.
So that's what Thursday with a Friend is. And there have been some episodes that are very dark. There have been some episodes that are just very fun. There have been some where I had Lenny on, from the G.I. Joe team, and you found out stuff, but you also found out like he was in a band, like a metal band. He worked in a
Nice.
graveyard. Like, that's the type of stuff. I'm like, I don't really care about like the new G.I. Joes that are coming out. I'm gonna find
Sure.
out about that. I want to find out who you are. Like, I'd love to have both of you guys on one at a time. I asked about it earlier this morning. I guess I can't believe I'm saying that, Largo. Like, how did you end up in Guatemala? Like, I want to know like this type of stuff, and I find that interesting. So that's me. Long answers. Sorry, guys.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, we'll definitely put links to your channel in the description below, so anyone watching now can go over there and join the fun. I know I will be.
But thank you guys for having me on. Again, I had a blast.
No, thank you, man.
At least
Awesome.
now, if I come back for a second, I already can eliminate 11 songs. So it'll be a little bit easier.
All right. Largo, you have anything else?
Well, we appreciate your time. We always love hanging with you. You're one of our favorite people on the tubes. I will end us off with saying that there is one thing that came out of Ohio we can all agree halfway decent. That is this.
You're a trasher.